Before Betty White, there was Betty Gray, and then she defeated the Balrog in the Mines of Moria. Truly a legend.
Hey, fun fans, it's We Enjoy. We've got You Only Live Twice to talk about today, the fifth James Bond and Sean Connery's last James Bond, ... For now. We are the Mattitude, Eric. I'm Matt Fowler. Say hello, Eric. I give you very best Duck Goldman.
Whoa, you started. I thought like, uh-oh, is he shutting down? Has he started to slow down there? Also, I was still chuckling under my breath because this is our second time starting this, but the other one was only like 20 seconds of Matt stumbling over the title, You Only Live Twice. So I was still making me laugh. But hello, everybody. How's it going?
I mean, maybe I'll just keep stumbling over it. I'll just say, I think what I said was, you've only lived twice, or I did the past tense. You've only lived twice.
Hmm.
Top 5 Bond song, by the way. Amazing Bond song. You Only Live Twice. John Barry composed it with some other person whose name escapes me, sung by Nancy Sinatra. I love the song. I love the covers of the song by like Soft Cell and Mark Lanigan. And it was sampled by one Robbie Williams for his hit song Millennium.
He's a primate. I would not name it as one of my favorite Bond songs, but I still really like it. And it was I kind of forgot the melody of it until the movie was beginning, and I was like, oh yeah, this is a nice one. It's in the middle for me, but it's a nice song.
I mean, I don't know what my official rankings are, but I stand by it being a top tier Bond song.
Sure, sure.
One of my favorites. You Only Live Twice. Interesting movie. We're gonna talk about it. Eric, was this all refreshing your memory? Did you remember anything about this movie?
I didn't remember. I mean, only thing, of course, I remembered that Bond in Asian garb and supposed to be passing as an Asian person.
So that's the thing that a lot of people remember of this movie. It
Yeah.
is a super problematic part. I really like this movie. Aside from that part, where obviously we pluck out things, we compartmentalize, like there's a problematic parts of the era. So here's the thing, Eric, would you have found it more like problematic if they somehow made him look Japanese, right? Like they did whatever it was, and even just had a Japanese actor in there. So
That's yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, let's change him into Japanese. Or is it worse because they in no way make him look Japanese?
That's the weird thing, right? Like it's not the actual visual isn't as racist as it could be.
That's
So
the thing. Yeah, exactly.
so
That's the
it's
thing.
it's this weird thing of like he doesn't actually look like an Asian person. The idea that he could pass for an Asian person is ridiculous.
But
But then
Eric, he spends all the time slumped over because he's so tall. He has a hunch now so that he can be shorter.
it's a lot. So yeah, it's funny rewatching these movies. I really don't remember many of the specifics. So when this one began and it was in space, I was like, "What the fuck's going on? This isn't supposed to be space yet." And so I don't. But then once we're in Asia, I go, "Oh, this must be the one where
Yeah, yeah. That's just, okay,
where that happens."
so it is funny because what we know of Bond these days is that it's a lot more globe-trotting than these earlier movies, because especially Doctor No, which is like all in Jamaica,
Yeah.
Thunderballs, the Bahamas. This is all in Japan.
Yep.
And one of the things I think is kind of cool, retro cool about this movie is that they shot in Japan on location, used actual Japanese actresses, unlike casting white people as Asian actresses in the Bonds of the past or in movies of the time. They used Japanese people. And this was still like a very mysterious country to a lot of people. Obviously, there are Godzilla movies, and it is portrayed on film. You can go see Japan in movies, but we're still only 25 years removed from Japan being an enemy in World War II.
Right.
That's not a lot of. That's the time between Scream 3 and 7. It's not a lot of time. So it's sort of like the fact that they actually shot it all in Japan, and the fact is, here's a weird part. Bond majored, or first, it was like I don't know how British way he put it, majored in Oriental languages at Cambridge.
Yeah.
But had never been to Japan. Like it was actually Bond's first trip to Japan too. So this movie was so they wanted to do On Her Majesty's Secret Service after Thunderball, but they didn't want to scout for snowy, treacherous locations because that required a lot of like alpine skiing and stuff like that. So they settled on doing this movie first. Now, the funny thing about doing this movie first is book-wise, this is the third of Ian Fleming's what we call the Blofeld trilogy, because it actually effectively ends Blofeld. In the book, Bond kills Blofeld, and you can have Blofeld in this movie, but the book takes place after On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So the book is 8 months after the events of that movie. I'm not going to talk about that movie. We'll talk about it next week. But you couldn't do the story from that book just because it takes place after On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So screenwriter Roald Dahl, interesting, friend of Fleming, was hired.
Absolutely threw me, as I'm sure it did a decade ago.
When you saw it. And
in fact, I think I did a, what the hell? And Trish went, what? She's in the other room like, oh, Roald Dahl wrote You Only Live Twice.
She probably thought like some like, something actually bad happened.
Right.
Roald Dahl wrote this movie.
Yeah, I'm looking at modern horrors on the news. No, I'm finding out that the author of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory wrote a James Bond movie.
Yeah. Second time Roald Dahl in our I guess our default main event here, since we talked about the witches already. But wrote this movie and literally couldn't use, well, he said that there was really no story, or it was the worst story, or Fleming's worst book. And it's sort of treated that way. It was the last book that was published while Fleming was alive. One more book got published posthumously, which was Man with the Golden Gun. But this was like the final Bond book while he was alive, and they couldn't use the direct story because they hadn't done On Her Majesty's Secret Service. So Roald Dahl basically, aside from being given the direct note that he had to have 3 Bond girls, the ally, the enemy, and the Bond girl, like the 3, 2 die, he winds up with 1 at the end, he could make up whatever story he wanted. All he needed to have was a hidden fortress, Blofeld, and because of that, he's just like, I'm just going to copy Dr. No. So he copied Dr. No. He just was like, someone's fucking around in space, and they have a hidden hideout, and Bond's going to find it. And from there, that was how this movie got made. It doesn't talk. The only characters, like Tanaka's in the book, and so is Kissy, who is the Bond girl at the end. I'll spoil this from the book, which is that Bond winds up with amnesia at the end of the book, and Kissy just keeps him as a fisherman husband.
Just a present for Kissy?
She gets pregnant with his child. Like, Bond has a Kissy baby.
Whoa.
So she just like, it's basically Overboard, except with gender reversal. Like,
amazing. And yeah, so I want to say up front, I really like this one. Even though, yes, it has some very, I mean, look, they all these 1960s Bond have problematic aspects involving the women and Bond's treatment of the women. This one adds to that with a lot of Asian fetishism. And then the Bond, in disguise part of it. However, I think this movie's real secret weapon that made me really like it is the direction. Because I feel like this movie might be the best directed yet of the entire series. It's Lewis Gilbert, first of 3 Bond movies he's going to do. He's coming off Alfie the year before, which was a big hit. Yep. I think this movie shows, and this is a cool thing again about watching a series keep going, is that this movie starts to elevate the filmmaking a little, I think, especially in the action sequences, because things stop being as static. There's other examples I'll mention, but the one that really sticks out to me is when Bond is running from all those guys and he gets on the roof. And
that's a great shot.
And that shot pulling away of all those guys coming at him running. None of the other movies until now had a shot like that. Like, a shot that kind of felt like sweeping in the middle of an action scene. Not just, here's our beautiful locale, but like something like that. It feels a lot more modern as far as like things you might input into an action movie. And I just thought the fight scenes in general, there was just something cool about them. And so, yeah, I really liked this movie as far as just feeling like it moves, it has a different energy to it. And visually, I think it's starting to really kind of go into a different place than the other Bond movies had.
I want to comment a little bit about Lewis Gilbert, which is like, his first Bond movie. He'd do a couple more. There was a 3-hour cut of this movie that audiences hated. And I want to bring up again someone we mentioned. I don't know if we've mentioned him since From Russia with Love. But Peter Hunt, who is like the MVP of these movies because he edits them, and he was the one who was crazy editing From Russia with Love to make some semblance of a movie during that crazy production. And he like pulled it out of his ass, and he's amazing. And he's been doing it ever since. He wanted to direct this movie, but they gave him second unit. He'll wind up directing the next movie. We'll talk about it next week. But Peter Hunt took the 3-hour cut and made this 2-hour cut that you enjoy so much. Like he's I think a huge part of this too, as far as like the pacing. It's almost like whoever it was that re-edited Star Wars to make it feel like an exciting action movie after the first assembly of it, which was apparently very boring. And so yeah, the Lewis Gilbert Peter Hunt combo does make for a movie that moves, and it is again like the filming in Japan, like this was kind of the lost in translation of its time as far as like the sights of things. And there was a lot of aerial photography, like you were mentioning. Like Thunderball had that scene at the end where they all drop out of the plane with parachutes for their scuba war. But like this took it to another level because there's aerial battles and a lot of more sweeping establishing shots, and that one that you just mentioned on the rooftop. So this movie didn't cost that much more than the last movie. But it's funny to note that the Volcano base, which was like a huge, that's the thing that a lot of people remember at this movie the most, is that cost $1 million. Again, huge for the time, and like the full budget of Dr. No. Like, it was just that set. Right. So that's how much we like expanded the Bond verse as far as like production design and scope. Like, and the battles, they get more impressive. The explosions, it's usually big groups fighting other big groups at this point. It's not just Bond versus
it's the second movie in a row where there's like a big kind of army that comes in to help Bond. And as far as the Japan of it all, I was intrigued to see in the closing credits that there was a special thanks to Toho, most famous in America for the ones who created Godzilla, but obviously they're just a big part of the Japanese film industry. They got special thanks for sort of cooperation on this movie, so I guess they probably gave them places to shoot.
Also they gave them the Toho actresses who play Aki and Kissy.
Okay.
I have a story to tell about them too, but that was a big contribution that they gave. Again, like these are Japanese actresses who had to learn English for this part.
Right.
Other than just taking an English woman and making her Oriental, right? Like they did in Dr. No. So
yes. And then also, it is fascinating to see Tokyo 1967 already filled with like the bright light, of the signs, because obviously that's sort of, as kids in the 80s, that was what we thought of from pop culture, of like, you go to Japan, giant bright signs, and Japan eventually would be the first ones to have like all the moving video screens and all these things, first. So I was like, oh wow, Japan, just interesting to note, that rebuilding after World War II did that pretty notably, and a couple decades later has this city of the future look to it,
and a lot of that had to do with the fact that they weren't allowed to have a standing army because of World War II, so they invested in their technology. That's like the direction that went. A lot of this stuff was, so that sumo wrestling match, so again, this was like an extravagant production, and Broccoli and Saltzman like went all out, made sure everyone was taken care of, and they set up this sumo match with like, I don't know, 5,000 to 10,000 people there. I couldn't really gather it, but there's a lot of people. But because it's sumo, they weren't going to fake it. They that was a real sumo match. They were like, we don't fake sumo matches. We had a real sumo like bout going on. This is a real contest you're watching, and these are people actually watching sumo. So it is an interesting production. A couple other, the cursed set things of this film are, I think his name's John Jordan. Is that his name? The guy who did a lot of the aerial photography, who's sort of a daredevil cinematographer who did a lot of the Nelly shoot, the helicopter fight.
Yeah.
His foot got severely like cut up by the propeller blade, wound up being amputated, then he continued to work with like a fake foot. It was a very Carrie Von Erich of him. Like he continued to work on future Bond films with a fake foot. The other one was, while doing production scouting for this movie, first they were looking for fortresses by the sea on an island, which is in the book, but none of those existed. That was just something Ian Fleming had in his head. They didn't build fortresses on the water. So that's when they were flying around and they saw these volcanoes and they're like, volcano base. The other thing is they were coming home, Broccoli, Saltzman, Gilbert, and someone else. And then they said, instead of getting on their flight to go home, they said, oh, we've got all the ninjas. Come watch the ninja demonstration. And they did that, and the plane crashed right after takeoff, and everyone died on the plane.
What? So... What? Wait, who was on this plane exactly?
No one. They weren't on it, but Broccoli and Saltzman and Gilbert. This was all during like pre-production stuff.
Okay.
Maybe Terrence Young. I think I don't know who else was on it, but somebody was on it. 4 people. Anyway, they all lived. This was their final destination moment where
they only lived once, though.
Because they were watching the ninjas.
They watched the ninjas. By the way, I was delighted when we meet the ninjas. Only again because we grew up in a decade where ninjas were everywhere, like literally multiple low budget canon movies with ninja in the title. Like, it was just ninjas were just
video games. Everything was ninja.
It became such
even G.I. Joe had ninjas.
Oh, it became a huge part of G.I. Joe once they shifted into it. It's like, they're like, guess what? Snake Eyes was a ninja the whole time, and now we're going to fully lean into that. So, obviously, the ninjas as a concept was not invented in the 80s, but I was like, oh, wow, it got used in a major pop culture way,
Let me tell you my favorite part about this movie's ninjas is he's taking them to the ninja camp, and he's like, ninjas, it's the art of concealment and surprise. And all around you, all you hear is, like, they're all just screaming their fucking heads off.
Matt just did a yell that his mic always drops out on.
I was wondering if it dropped out, but anyway, they are making the most noise that you could make. They're just screaming their asses off, and they're going like they're just. It's like the deadly. Like you will find no one stealthier than these ninjas, and they're just like fucking psychotic.
Loud ninja.
They're like movie. Smashing boards and ice and like anything that's loud. Like
we want to be goddamn loud. Now I will say this movie has some weird structural decisions. The biggest to me is am I saying her name right? Aki?
Yes.
Just the decision to kill her with 40 minutes left in the movie, at which point we go to 0 Bond girls because it is because there was there had to be 3 Bond girls. There was like a thing, like she could have literally just continued on as Aki. There's no reason. Yeah, structurally speaking, it's so weird to suddenly introduce Kissy and have it was very funny to me when she tells him like we're sleeping in different beds and he's eating oysters, right? And he's like, well, there's no point in these. And he seems so legitimately like, God damn it. I wanted him to be like really depressed, like afterwards. Like
he's probably sitting there, like, look, after Thunderball, he's probably sitting there. It's like, what if I got you fired or something? Like, how can I blackmail her at this point into sleeping with me?
But it's very strange to just make that shift that is completely unnecessary structurally, not to just continue on with Aki as the girl that'll be the final.
No, absolutely. And I remember back to Dr. No when you were saying like it's weird that we don't meet Honey until this far into the movie, and I'm like, oh, just you wait, like halfway through is early, so for some of these movies. Because again, I don't even think we meet Denise Richards until halfway through the movie. If it sort of continues on. I don't even know when we meet Madeline Swan and Spectre, Daniel Craig movie. I feel like it's a long way into that movie. So Akiko Wakabayashi, who plays Aki, was the better actress, and so she was given the Aki role because there was more to actually have to do.
Yes.
Because originally it was going to be Miyahama. Now they took these Toho girls to England to teach them English, and I think it was Miyahama. I could actually look this up, but I won't do it right now. I think it was Miyahama who they were going to send home because she wasn't good enough, who plays Kissy. and she said she was gonna fucking kill herself and throw herself
Oh
off the
no,
balcony.
Jesus!
So, so they gave her kissy, and they
And they're like,
switched
that would be
Akiko to
bad
Aki.
publicity for us.
Probably. And speaking of publicity, it was well known at this point during production. They fully announced that this was Connery's last Bond.
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was didn't come as a surprise. Broccoli and Saltzman knew that this was the last one with him. He didn't spring it on them. He was already threadbare by the time he did Thunderball and didn't like to do it. They will get him back a couple movies later, giving him $1 million for the role, which is funny because he was offered $1 million to do Casino Royale. Now, if you haven't watched it or know about it, we did do a Hudson Hawk Breakout episode about this bizarre spoof movie, Casino Royale, which came out the same year as this.
That was not made by Eon. That was like, the rights were held separately. So,
and it is truly a remarkable mess of a fucking blunt clusterfuck. And he turned it down. Obviously, he just didn't want to do that movie. That movie cost $11 million, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like it cost more than any Bond movie to this point. And it's weird that like they could have offered him, they literally probably could have offered him $3 million and it wouldn't have made a difference to that movie. So this is also the first, it's the biggest Bond movie, the battle at the end, that volcano base is so impressive. It's the first Bond movie to make less than the one before it.
Right.
And that was sort of, and everything has its moments, everything has its
everything
window.
will peak. Everything will peak. Yeah.
Everything peaks. And this is a situation like, I think the MCU was able to last as long as it did as far as like its peaks is because it was all building up to what we all knew was building up to like Infinity War and Endgame, but also it constantly introduced new characters and then kept combining them in different ways. Mm-hmm. Characters we liked. James Bond, for its formula, had a really good run with Connery, and this movie still made a shit ton of money. I'm not saying like this was flop.
Like 111 million in 1967. Yeah, that's a major hit.
It's just that the draw was Bond. There was no one else. No one's out there like going like money, penny, money. Right, like he has some supporting characters sometimes, and they have a couple minutes of screen time. But there was no one else except him that was the draw. Him having sex, using cool gadgets.
Yep.
And getting caught having sex at the end. And that's kind of the formula, right? Cool.
I did not realize how many movies end on a boat, by the way, until this rewatch. I was like, damn, there's a lot of boats.
So yeah, this sort of like the tide rolled back a little bit with this movie. And maybe it was because, look, this did come out 2 years after, or maybe a year and a half after. It was still like, what was it, December 65 for Thunderball? And this is June 67, so it's not the worst gap at all. But Casino Royale already came out. And
earlier this same year.
Casino Royale wasn't like why this movie like didn't make as much money. It was, though, the oversaturation of spy movies at this point because of everything James Bond influenced on movies and TV. So this stuff was everywhere. So the fact that like this movie still pulled in the equivalent of what's still just over $1 billion in our day's money is still like huge.
I mean, just to give context, a year before, Mission Impossible has premiered on American TV. So, good point. Something that obviously still resonates today. But yes, the fact that it was and Get Smart was on doing a like weekly parody.
The Avengers had already been running this whole time because we're going to get another ex-Avenger as a Bond girl in the next movie, So this stuff is everywhere. And they're making them in England. They're making them in America. They're making them all over Europe, too. A lot of international spy movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think even Rick Dalton starred in a couple of those.
I was about to mention that this is definitely sort of stuff that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is riffing on some of these movies of this era. Even the one that Sharon Tate was in that she goes to see, is it Armand Flint?
Oh yeah, Armand Flint's a big one.
Yeah, spy comedy. Yeah. Yep.
So I think but I do like a lot of this movie, and we should say that like this is the first reveal of Ernst Stavro Blofeld in person with his face, with his scar. And it's so funny to me how like this obviously what he's wearing, everything. Dr. No set a template that even Blofeld would copy, right? Which is like that high close collar, the one piece sort of like tracksuit style villain that Dr. Evil would emulate with his scar and his bald head, and like the Volcano base. Like Austin Powers took a lot from these Connery movies, obviously. But they also recast it during production. So they filmed a lot of scenes with one actor as Blofeld, and I can't remember who his name is, but apparently Broccoli and Saltzman looked at him and he's like, he looks too kindly. He looks like Santa Claus or Father Christmas, as they would say. So the actor who played Tanaka, Tetsuro Tamba, who had worked with Lewis Gilbert previously, that's how he got the role, was like, I showed up one day and it's just a different Blofeld. Like nobody told anybody. And like, so weird. Donald Pleasance is technically the first on-screen Blofeld.
I have to correct myself briefly just to say that Armand Flint is another Bond-inspired movie of that era, but the one Sharon Tate goes to see herself in is The Wrecking Crew, which was the fourth movie in the Matt Helms series.
Oh yeah, Wrecking Crew.
Right, which was another play on Bond, although I'm darkly amused looking at the Wikipedia page for The Wrecking Crew that Matt Helm works for the secret agency ICE. So we can process that as you will.
Too soon in the 60s.
Donald Pleasance as the first revealed Blofeld.
Jan Werich is the guy who was cast first, but yes.
Okay.
Dr. Loomis was the first Bond, was first Blofeld. And the crazy thing, and we'll get to talk about this in the next two movies, is how they just didn't stick to this formula. They had this dude with a cat, they revealed the dude with the cat, and he looks this way. And then the next movie he's recast and looks different, and then the next movie he's recast and looks totally different. Yeah. So it's like there's no continuity here. In fact, the guy who plays Blofeld 2 movies from now is in this movie.
Yes,
Charles Gray, who plays the British. Yeah, so
I was sad to see Charles Gray was only in one scene, and then I remembered he was also Blofeld later in the series. This movie was fun for me, opening credits wise, to be like, oh, this is where, I didn't realize this is the one where Donald Pleasance is Blofeld until I saw the opening credits, and then Charles Gray being in it because, look. How
many times have you seen Rocky Horror?
Yeah. I've seen Halloween and Rocky Horror so many times each. So these are two actors that are very ingrained in my mind. Actually, Donald Pleasance earlier, though, because I loved Escape to Witch Mountain so much as a kid and watched that a million times. So these are two actors that, just very, very familiar to me. But then I was like, oh no, Charles Gray taken out immediately. Although I did like Bond, again, because this movie's action, I think, is a little more dynamic. Immediately leaping through that paper wall after the guy who just killed Charles Gray in front of him.
One of my favorite parts about that sequence is he tracks down the assassin and kills him, and then realizes he could substitute as him, but he has to put on his shoes because he left the house he took his shoes off when he went into Charles Gray's house. So he puts on his shoes. So the whole time he's sneaking around the Osato company. Mm-hmm. He's got these ridiculous shoes on while he's like cracking the safe and like escaping. And then he shoots an Osato guard and kills him. And I felt bad about that one. They're like shooting at him as he's getting. That's just like a guard of the company. Like that's not even like.
I know that's a real Clerks rant waiting to a Randall rant waiting to happen about that guy not deserving.
I mean, this guy is working for a chemical company. He doesn't know that they are like being hired out by Spectre. Like it's one thing to work I'll say this, it's one thing to work on the fucking Death Star. It's called the Death Star.
Well, yeah, okay? the guy's working in the Volcano. That's different. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's like the Death Star. But the guy working at
their friend
who's just like fucking clocking in and clocking out every day, just get shot in the stomach or whatever.
License to Kill,
Karen
baby.
Dorr. Yeah, that's true. Karen Dorr plays Helga, aka Number 11.
Yep.
One of the things it's not a bad thing, but it bugs me. And I talked about it and I can't remember what movie it came up at, but when the villain kills the main henchman, like I said, like Bob the Goon or Mad Dog in Hard Boiled or something like that. Blofeld kills both of his henchmen. Like he kills Osato and he, on a twist, he actually kills Helga. Like she gets fed to the piranha. That was very surprised. But Helga's fine. she was always a little bit of a second-rate Fiona to me from Thunderball. Like she's almost like the same hair. The fact that they didn't make her look much different than Fiona from the last movie was weird. We also had all those people who had their chances to kill James Bond and take like 3 left turns to make 1 right turn. Like she could have just shot him in that airplane instead of fucking diving out of it.
She thought that would be more fun. I did like that he judo chops that piece of wood to break it. Yeah. I didn't think
I wish he'd said judo chop like Austin Powers. Yeah.
Is it weirdly progressive that Blofeld kills her like he does other henchmen in that scene? It's like
no. I do think I think you're set. I do think you're right. I do think you're set up to think he's going to kill Osato.
I think you feel she's protected by her gender at that moment a little bit. Yes.
But I also think you feel she's protected by her gender combined with the fact that she has unfinished business with Bond. Like she's tried to kill him and now he won't get to see her ever again. Like,
and it's hyper specific. It's not like she couldn't, we've seen these other henchwomen die. I just think Blofeld killing her by dropping her into a piranha tank doesn't seem like a thing that's going to happen yet in this series. I do like the shots of Blofeld's foot itching to push that pedal. He's like, I got a cool pedal. He's like, I gotta drop someone into my piranha tank. It's just too exciting.
Yeah, obviously Blofeld sounds different. You know, the previous 2 movie times we've seen him, he was voiced by the same guy, and you know he's going to look and sound different now. He's a lot shorter than we would think. But again, taking notes from Doctor No, he's very much the meticulous, archetypical Bond villain of like that we will see later in Roger Moore movies like The Spy Who Loved Me and Moonraker, where it's just like these really calm, kind of boring Bond villains who say the very typical things these types of villains say. I want to address the petting of the cat, which is very funny to me. Now, this cat is iconic. Obviously, even when we were growing up, like Dr. Claw had a cat, like, and we never saw his face. It was obviously an Inspector Gadget nod to Blofeld. Every shot that we see him with the cat, he's like obsessively petting the cat.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this cat would not put up with that. Like, you know, cats, like you pet them a few times and they're going to want to get out of your arm. Like, there's not a scene where he's just holding the cat. He's always petting it. And I felt really uncomfortable for some reason.
Well,
it's like, I felt bad for the cat.
I felt way worse for the cat when it's freaking out on camera because there's a bunch of explosions and gunshots happening around it, and you know they're not being careful about this animal's well-being at the time. Like, this poor cat is in Donald Pleasence's arms, like just freaking the fuck out. Probably scratched up Donald Pleasance, I'm guessing a bit. But yes, he didn't ask for this. It's too much.
That cat gave a better performance right there than Kissy did the whole movie. So,
poor Kissy.
Kissy's redundant again. If we're talking Kissy from the book, who's like basically just a kidnaps James Bond and like has a baby with him, that's different. But this Kissy again, not necessary. It could have just been Aki. Should have just been Aki, except that she was a diver. She actually got her own action scenes, not just being in the fray and she got with Tanaka. But like they came after her while she was swimming in the helicopter, shooting at her, and she got to do her dive, like a scene without James Bond or Tanaka.
Yes,
I don't think we've seen that before.
Hey Matt, look, she heard you talking about a cat, and she decided she needed to join me.
Now just nonstop pet her.
That's enough. Yeah, that's enough for now.
See, that would have been more realistic. Actually, that was something the Austin Powers movies could have done. Is like he keeps trying to pet the cat and
you're over petting
but it keeps wanting to get away.
You're over petting it. Oh, that's I circled back finally. What we're talking, you mentioning Austin Powers helped me first because I thought of Frau Verbissina again, and number 2, the slowly meeting all these different numbers in the Spectre organization was amusing to me because it makes me think of Star Wars and the Inquisitors and how we've slowly met like the Seventh Sister, the Second Brother, because they're all the number coding. But I guess you can take it all the way back to our Spectre crew here for doing that. You want to come back in my lap?
Yeah, I mean we're missing a lot of numbers here and there. Also, the fact that like this is number 11, I feel like we're at the bottom of the barrel as far as like Inspector operatives.
Maybe that's why they're a little repetitive.
The movie, yeah, he's like, you're nothing like, I can't remember what number Fiona was. But you
Yeah.
I got caught up like trying to think of like what her number was. You say something.
Okay, I'll talk about the space stuff because, like I said, it threw me to have this movie open with
Yeah,
space.
yeah.
Then I was amused to see that this is the director of Moonraker. So they're like, hey, you did a little space stuff for us. You want to go all in on space stuff for us? And it was I was amused by a very fun visual of like literally the bigger ship opens its mouth to eat the little ship. I thought that was very fun.
I do want to call this part out because of all the influence that James Bond has, I don't think we have brought up yet The Incredibles. And the theme that is used as the villainous theme in this movie, very specifically during the space heist parts, is the exact same Syndrome score. From not okay, exact same is not right. The Incredible score is a little varied. It goes da na 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 na. Da, na, 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 na. They add that part at the end, but it is taken from this. Anyway, I just want to say that too.
No, and yeah, because Michael Giacchino loving 60s spy scores, a lot of that is in The Incredibles, and then of course he would score 2 Mission Impossible movies, so he would sort of directly.
But the way that capsule opens to sort of swallow the other thing is very much like the tentacles on the robot, like the way that those open up too. I
do see that visual. A line that made me laugh a lot is Tanaka saying "bad news from outer space" to Bond, which was almost immediately followed by him being like, "These are my ninjas." So there's like a lot in that scene. He's like, "Bad news from outer space. Good news, we have ninjas." So.
Bad news from outer space. Good news, we have ninjas. Sounds like an A24 movie by the day just waiting to happen.
Oh, by the way, I was very amused when Blofeld says the title, only because, yes, we've heard the title in other movies because it's a name of either a character or a thing, but we didn't hear like, when the series goes forward, because this is the first of many titles that involve our mortality, and there's so many titles have dead or die in them, so there's You Only Live Twice. They don't say in all the other movies like, No Time to Die, like they don't like stop and do that. So the fact that they made sure to have Blofeld actually say that, I thought was pretty funny.
Fiona update, she did not have a number at all. But talking about what you just said, we're referencing, this movie starts with Bond faking his own death. Like it's like the conceit of the movie, so that like now he's supposedly able to move more freely.
Doesn't really matter, but
it doesn't. It doesn't matter at all because Blofeld's like, do you know who came to see you today? James Bond.
Right. That was totally James Bond.
I got the idea from the line, maybe this will make your enemies stop paying attention to you, that people were coming for him. Like in between Thunderball and this movie, there had been attempts on his life. Needless to say, though, like even if that were true, this pageantry of killing of James Bond with an operative who we would find out is not the one who set him up to be killed. She was actually, the Chinese operative was actually in on it, as Moneypenny said. How'd you like the Chinese girl we gave you? And we get to get the grown-worthy Chinese girls taste different than all other girls.
It's his first line. Why do Chinese girls taste different from all other girls? That is awful. I was happy to see that actress is in Casino Royale. So
yep.
that's a nice little,
and these. So a lot of the Craig movies do a lot of.
We should say the Daniel Craig Casino Royale. So decades
later. Yeah. The Craig movies call back a lot to these movies. There's a lot of like references for Bond heads out there. Now I'll talk more about it next week with On Her Majesty's Secret Service because I don't want to like give away parts of that movie. But No Time to Die takes. I already talked about that movie when we did Dr. No, but that movie also has elements of Majesty's Secret Service and
yes,
You Only Live Twice, the book, not the movie. So I'll talk about that next week. But the fact that like it's this whole thing where like They have to fake him dying in a Murphy bed that folds up, fake blood. I don't know how those cops they just don't check his pulse. So anyway,
Sure.
the fact that like they shoot a body into the ocean, like a maritime, like British Navy funeral, but he is actually in that thing with a breather, like
Right.
it's not just a fake thing. And then they suck him into a sub. He has to be in this basically this mummified like coffin type thing. He gets out, and then they just shoot him out like a torpedo anyway afterwards.
Yeah, they
anyway,
put him in
it's just a whole lot to fake this death that doesn't pay off.
Yes, I mean it's the title of the movie, and Blofeld will say it, but it doesn't. Yeah, it feels like it feels like they were acting off the title, but then they never really had a cool angle on him faking his own death. And it was also funny because this movie opens with the quote unquote death of James Bond, but we already had that. Was it Goldfinger that or From Russia with Love that opens with the fake Bond death?
From Russia with Love.
Granted, we see he's unmasked a second later, but it was funny to already have another fake Bond death open the movie, but this one's like, oh my god, James Bond is dead. But then I just felt like it needed to have a bigger use in the story than it actually does. But what can you do?
Yeah, I mean, because already he goes to a country he's never been to before. Already he's a little safer than normal, and he gives a fake. The other funny thing is he sets up that meeting with Osato, and he goes in as like a guy literally trying to buy chemicals. His name is Mr. Fisher, and as soon as he leaves the room, Osato's like, "Kill him." It's not even like
that was really
he
funny.
was James Bond.
Yes. I put that down too. Yeah. I don't like that guy. Kill him.
Yeah, I just didn't like him. Like he had.
Oh, by the way, two things I want to open about. Mention about the opening is one. We're back to black and white with Bond walking into the iris and shooting. Well, last time was in color, so now I went back to black and white. And then it was funny that the opening credits are as I put in my notes are a mixture of magma and Asian women fetishizing. The magma only I mean, it's a volcano base, but at the very end, there's a bad composite shot of the actual like lava. But it was funny that it's a huge part of the opening credits in a way that you'd think Bond's gonna fight on Mustafar in this movie, but it's not actually a big part of it.
I know it's next level gauche to quote Austin Powers in any form, like or to that had its time, and it had its time so strongly that it can never have its time again.
It's like Borat, a legitimately funny movie that just got so quoted that it becomes annoying, even if you realize it's a funny movie.
I still make an argument for a good ironic My Wife. I think that can still work. But what I'll say is I actually can't see the word magma now without hearing Dr. Evil's way of saying it. Like it's just ingrained. So
yeah. Mike Myers, Lorne Michaels impression as Dr. Evil saying it.
Magma, yeah.
Yes. It's good stuff. I very much enjoyed on the ship the joke of Moneypenny and M have the exact same office layout as they do back in England. I thought that was very funny.
That feels spoofy. That feels like
it does. Yeah, like anywhere they go, like if they had a mission somewhere else, like it has to be coat rack here. So the coat rack's back where it used to be, by the way. After shenanigans.
Can we talk about Tanaka's awesome train though? Like he's basically like, I'm too important and to travel amongst people. So I have this awesome underground, this subway, this train that's all decked out, which is all. And he's like, I'm sure M has this. And Bond is like, oh yeah, like
sure, totally. He should have looked towards the camera. But this movie really fed into something you'd referenced earlier, which is Moneypenny does seem to have a kink. When she asks Bond, how was the girl? And seems legitimately like, tell me about screwing this girl. Like she seems to like really get off on hearing about his and it's like, oh damn it, he didn't get to have sex with her.
I can't remember what episode it was, but there was one past Bond episode that we just did that I almost titled Cucky Penny, but I didn't. So anyway, you're welcome. So but yeah, she's absolutely a voyeur. And it's funny because this is a rumor that has followed her through international spy circuits, because Tanaka's like well, I'm sure Moneypenny would like to give you a bath. He's like, I hear things. So it's like,
Yes, yes. Although, oh my God, the whole in Japan, men always come first, women come second. I might retire here. Oh my God, that is
well,
yes,
so let me tell you this. Let me tell you this.
yeah.
A lot of these scenes are problematic
Hmm.
because the era was problematic, right? That's
Yes,
just how it
yes,
is, right?
yes,
Same,
yes.
and that's, or most of the, or all of these scenes
Yeah,
are
I
problematic
know there
because of the
weren't
era.
articles about how problematic this
No, no,
was.
no. But I could also say there was an episode of Mad Men where Don and Roger went to Japan for some reason, and Roger or says something like, "Here, men come first, women come second," and then Don says, "I could retire here." I think that would still be very
No,
funny. Like,
it would. It's all intent. It's just funny to see it done in a different thing here. All and at the same time, it's funny because there's a homoeroticism to this scene because they're both getting stripped down and like bathing next to each other. So it's like got this whole extra level. Like it seems like they're just gonna have group sex, in a second.
do you
And
think because we talked about Casino Royale and how the David Niven book ending stuff like was sort of like weirdly filmed so that it could make sense of the inner stuff with Peter Sellers? Do you think they heard on Casino Royale that there was a bathing scene where women undress Bond and they were like, we need to have that in this? And so they put him in that Scottish castle where they undress him and bathe him.
I would like
Like
to believe that there
it just
were.
like it literally just happened months before in a different movie with Bond. So
I would like to
um
believe that that is how that got in there. Um, I laughed louder than I should when Bond when he meets Tanaka and it's a trap door in the floor in that tunnel because the stuntman totally hits his head. I hope he was okay, but because the way that door moves, which is it just kind of pushes down, so he takes a tumble and it slams his head. So it actually
huh.
played more slapstick than it probably was meant to. And also, I hope that guy was okay. Although I do like that Bond said something about, I guess I'll leave here with more dignity than I arrived, which obviously was meant to reference no matter what that he was sent down a slide, but he also hit his fucking head doing
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Do you like that Bond did two swanton bombs to escape the people on that fucking ship? Like,
I did like that. Yes.
so it wasn't just one; he did it twice, and then he immediately got captured. So it's fine.
Yeah. Well, again, like I mean, there is something I do think the fight scenes are a little more escalated here when he fights that first sort of henchman fight. Um, there's that cool. I like that it's like they're both grabbing furniture. Like there's like almost the earliest thing of like a Jackie Chan like use your environment of like just grabbing
Yeah, they pick up.
chairs
They're
of
literally like dueling with couches. Yeah,
yes, yeah.
they're
It's like there's fucking stuff around. We got to grab it and throw it at each other. So I did think that was kind of like a little fun thing that happened a couple times in this movie.
Do you like when Tanaka calls one of the women very sexyful?
I
I think that should have caught on. I think that should have been the new fetch. I think we can actually bring it back right
I
now.
didn't clock that. Maybe because the thing that I was amused by was that both Blofeld and Bond continually using the term exploder at the end. Yeah, not detonator. They keep talking
Oh, for
about
the button.
yeah,
Yeah, there's an
yeah.
exploder. Yeah,
So
you're right. That's
that
weird.
they both keep saying we have to get to there's an exploder, and I was like, was that briefly the thing? Like, did we all settle on detonator later?
Like a
Because that's
button that explodes something is an explode. I don't know.
I know. Is that the Pixie song Exploder? But yeah, that was that amused me very much. Yeah, just continually, I just want to say, yeah, there was a lot of cool shots in this movie. There's one when Bond surfaces after he was a little bit of underwater shots like the last one, but when he surfaces, there's some really pretty shots of like the sort of dawn on the beach. But also clever, just photography. Like when he's talking to that one guy who's working for Blofeld, and his reflection is in the front of the guy's desk. I thought that was
Mm.
really cool. So we're seeing like both Bond and him in this very interesting way. We're seeing the escalation of technology because they're like X-raying him while he's sitting there at the desk with the gun. Oh, this was another weird thing though. Again, there's a couple things in this movie where I don't understand why they kind of repeat or stretch out things they don't need to. One is just Kissy existing and just not letting it be Aki, but it's also really funny that we get our Q scene. But then he leaves the movie and Tanaka gets a second Q scene. I thought that was really funny when he's
Well,
like,
yeah, they get
here's
to
this.
like Q gives him Little Nelly, like a big, it's the big set piece of the movie. It's in the posters. He's in Little Nelly on the poster
Yes.
holding his
And
gun.
I do like, because these movies are so sort of self-contained adventures, that Q specifically says you've used this before. So a little more giving us like the off-screen adventures. Like just the idea that he's flown Little Nelly
Well,
before.
he knew enough to ask for it and to ask for
Yeah.
its father. And then Q once again in the field with, and I think Q's most often used phrase is probably now pay attention 007. That's probably the biggest thing he says.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like, here's your guns, here's your flamethrower, here's your rockets, here's your. When he drops the mines on that other helicopter, it was awesome.
Hmm.
But the Japanese get to have their own Q division, and they have rocket guns and the rocket cigarette, which comes in very handy at the end.
Yeah. Cool
Uh,
moment.
and they try for a henchman in this named Hans, big sort of Aryan dude. Doesn't really work. He doesn't have personality. He doesn't have much to do. He's just there to be tall next to Blofeld. There's a fight, and he goes in the piranha. It's not as fun because we saw someone go in the piranha already. You know what I mean? Like it would have.
They kind of did that too early. Yeah.
Yeah. The whole setup. I think there's an interesting element there. Again, there was a 3-hour cut of this movie. There's an interesting element here of like, we need to turn you Japanese, whatever. But like, we also need to train you. It turns out people keep trying to kill him while he's training. But he even says like, just 2 more days of training, and then you'll be fake married. But the whole thing is the Americans move up their whole schedule, so it kind of none of it mattered. You know what I mean? Like it didn't, like this whole charade that they were doing to like sneak him in or to like have him nearby. It was always, they changed the schedule, so it was like, we gotta go now. Like, like their honeymoon again was sneaking into the Volcano base. Like they got married that morning. It didn't matter.
Right. I missed, clarify for me, because it turns out Spectre, I thought it was a little weird decision anyway, but Spectre is being paid. They're being paid to incite a US-Russia war. And that's the whole thing of like Blofeld asking for more money.
Yep.
But who was paying for it? Like who
It
wanted
didn't. It looked like the Japanese to me,
Yeah.
but it wasn't clear. And when Blofeld says, when the dust settles, there'll be a new superpower, meaning Spectre, it felt like something they were also just doing out of their for themselves, so that they could be the global power, after the nuclear war.
Yeah.
So they do business for other people. But again, this also felt like there was something they were doing for themselves. It isn't clear. You're right.
Yeah,
like,
it's just a weird thing because again, yeah, I've really enjoyed this movie. It also has a weird thing of a couple times having like an additional element it doesn't need, because it's like, why not just make Spectre the ones who they would benefit from Russia and the US going to war? So they're the ones trying to push that anyway.
And another element of Roald Dahl just being like, let's do not Dr. No again. So the way Dr. No had that famous painting that had been stolen the year before, and it's like, oh, he has it. Wah, wah. Blofeld also has a painting, a little different. It is basically, it's called the Darmstadt Madonna. And the thing about it at the time, apparently, is that there were so many copies of it, nobody knew which one was real. And so there's a couple shots, very prominent shots of this painting in this movie that are supposed to insinuate that Spectre has the real one. That's another thing that was like, I don't know. It was a weird, I don't think it appears in any other Bond movie after this, as far as like,
but it was killing back then. It was
it would have been funny if it was Inspector, and then like
one last thing to that. What was weird was it's funny because like, yes, Bond sleeps around. It becomes very much part of the same year Casino Royale comes out, where it's a huge thing. But in the movie, in these mainline Bond movies, it's mentioned, referenced, joked about often. It felt a little like grosser when he sleeps with Helga, and then Aki's like, well, yeah, you didn't do anything with her, right? And he's like, nah. It's like one of the only times it feels like he's cheating on someone. And even though I know it's not, they never had a commitment. It just the other movies didn't bother having that even feel like a thing. So it's like, because it's one of the only times he's like, yeah, I didn't do anything with her.
Yeah, it's the first time he came off like Ash from Evil Dead. He's just like, oh,
Yeah.
no, baby. You're the only one for me.
Exactly. I would have liked if they just shifted fully into that approach for him.
But also Aki's in the business she's in, and constantly has to bathe Tanaka, so she should know what James Bond is up to. So
I guess probably, unfortunately.
bathing Tanaka.
I liked when Bond is being chased. The scene that culminates with him on that roof. He's running up a flight of stairs, and the guys are right behind him. He gets to the top of the stairs, and we can see there's a like gated door at the top of the stairs. So I was sure he was going to slam it shut. He doesn't. He turns around and just shoots the guy at like point blank range, which seems just like it was.
He shoots quite a bit of. He shoots a lot of people in this movie. Yeah,
yeah.
He shoots a lot of people in this movie. Like more so than just like other movie. Like with his Walther PPK, he takes a lot of people out. The space stuff. It's just interesting to note, and I can't remember what movie. Maybe it was Goldfinger. It's like look at us now. We're we have rockets in space. Like talking about the progress we've made technologically.
Mm-hmm.
And in this movie, they're doing space stuff. We're still 2 years before the moon landing, so it's again like we're doing a lot of space stuff, and there's still the space race going on all through the '60s. But we have not put the flag on the moon just yet. And it's so weird to hear, because you'd think that someone would say, look how far mankind's come. We've been to the moon. Well, they couldn't say that then. They just say we've launched rockets into space. That's all they could say.
But it was obviously very topical, yeah, because like you said, the space race is happening. It's very top of mind for people that this is all going on. Little Nelly, I just want to mention that has someone, again, lifelong G.I. Joe fan, and one of the most iconic vehicles from G.I. Joe is the Cobra Fang. And I didn't realize that there really were and are, I'm sure, this kind of little one-man helicopter really, did exist. And now, of course, I'm like, oh, the Fang's another James Bond influence thing, I'm sure, as far as a little, even though James Bond didn't invent the little single copter, but having it have fucking missiles and guns and shit, So I was like, okay, that's cool influence. And also, again, just clever little touches. I really like that when Bond is flying that thing and leads to a big action sequence, obviously, aerial action sequence, he first notices they're coming by seeing their shadows, like, behind him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then there's some fun miniature stuff with them all getting blown up one by one.
It's all very exciting.
Yeah.
Little notes here and there. I do like the "I've got you now, well enjoy yourself" line with Helga. The other thing is, we haven't mentioned another big stunt piece that took a lot of work was the magnet used to take the villain car and dump it into the Sea of Japan.
That also felt kind of that felt very cruel, because I assume those guys all died.
Yeah.
It felt like
they were actually enemy assassins, so it works.
I know, but they could have done something else with them.
But it was just a really big spectacle. That was like a Fast and Furious style spectacle for this time. Look, this series has already been in space and using magnets, so it's going full Fast and Furious. The fact that Bond had a safe cracking kit in his pocket when he gets into Osato Chemicals, having not known he would need it at all when he went after the assassin.
I know, and then he has a fucking Spider-Man suit.
I don't know what that weird magnet suit was, where he pulled it from. I don't know.
I mean, I know we've mentioned this before. Oh yeah, the capsule that he takes to help track, like the Bond movies, you have to hand wave away all the things he's not going to use again that would be very handy to constantly have on missions with him. But where's your Spider-Man suit? You can stick to walls and ceilings and shit. You should be using that all the time. I would just be using it to impress people.
A sort of a way of taking a grape, like we talked about last time. He has a little drink in Osato Chemicals when he breaks in, and he hates it because it's Siamese vodka. And I wished he'd actually vomited all over the floor, emptied out all of his breakfast, lunch, and dinner everywhere.
This movie does a lot to push him as very cultured, because not only does he already speak Japanese, but he knows the best temperature to drink sake, which impresses Tanaka. It's this whole he's very he completely he's never been there, but he completely understands how to behave and act, and it's just he's more Japanese than the Japanese are, man.
To be fair, I did study Japanese for 3 years, and I've never been there. So
many
that was high school Matt, and I've never made it over to the land of the rising sun.
I want to say this carefully, because I don't want to. I'm not. I'm not mocking this because I understand, hey, this is just how it is. I'm very familiar with how sumo wrestlers dress. And I can't remember the name for the outfits they wear. I
Like
just
big babies? Yeah.
I just have to imagine in
Mm.
1967, this was more man ass than an American audience was ever used to seeing in their major motion picture when they went to
I
see.
probably, yeah, you're probably right. I'm trying to think of other instances where this was acceptable or where
Right.
they would have seen sumo before, you know?
Yeah, I
Um,
know. It was everything would have been new to them probably, but especially just like, there's a lot of man butt compared to other movies of the era that were probably like big family action movies that were popular with everyone.
the
What is the
poison on
Bond
the rope.
movie? Oh, sorry, go for it.
Oh no, go ask your question and then I'll
What
talk
is the
about the
Bond
poison.
movie that has there's a famous Bond poster between the girl's legs?
Octopussy.
Is it Octopussy?
No. For your eyes only. For your eyes
Yeah,
only.
I didn't think it was Octopussy.
No,
For a
it's for
sec,
your eyes only.
yeah,
Yeah.
only because it seems like maybe it was a reference to in this movie when he's like, you know, doing the whole bathhouse thing with Tanaka, that there is a shot of Bond, looking up at the girl with the girl's legs.
Oh, that's when he says she's very sexyful.
Yeah. Oh, is that when he says it? Okay.
Yeah, I think you were focused on the For Your Eyes Only
I think I
poster,
was
and that's
focused on that looking like a poster that I know will be the future of this franchise. But yeah, maybe it was sexyful. That's why they would use it again.
the assassin who tries to kill Bond when he's sleeping next to Aki.
Oh
By the way,
yes,
Bond and Aki for life. I'm a Bond and Aki shipper. She
sure.
shouldn't have been killed, but it was maybe the closest anyone's ever come to killing Bond because he's so close to doing it, and Bond he snork me's like right out of the way
I
of
know,
that,
and
and she
it
rolls right
flames.
into frame. Yeah,
I staunchly don't think she should die, and also laughed at her death because of the whoops, like the Bond rolling out of the way and her perfectly replacing him, like
it
right
was
where her
so
mouth.
perfect. There was like the bag of sand and the fucking medallion
Right,
in
because
Raiders. Yeah,
it's not even like she rolls over, but it like hits her in the forehead. It's like nope, her mouth is right there to capture the poison.
I said medallion and not idol. Fake fan. Okay,
We all knew, we all knew what you
we
meant.
don't know because if I say something wrong, it means I don't know what it is, and then I'm canceled, I guess. Yeah. Anyway, this movie, I think really works.
Mhm.
Again, I totally understand at this point why Sean Connery's done with these. It was a breakneck schedule to start with. Like maybe if they were like, hey, you could do a Bond movie every couple years, but no, they did 4 in 4 years, and he was like, hey. It's aging him. I've never seen anyone age faster except maybe when Barack Obama was president, like as
Right.
far as stress. And it was and like yeah, so I get it. Also was doing the thing. He was like, I don't want to be typecast. He is again somebody who was able to escape this. Very few people can. He was able to successfully go on and redo and rebuild his movie career doing other things. It did help when he started actually just showing up bald with a mustache and looking different, but yeah, he had a totally different 80s career. I mean 70s too, but mostly big in the 80s. So
It really, yeah, the 80s is where really kind of he became like an elder statesman in a different way. I get it too. Again, I totally get both sides, which is to say, people being like, "Oh, you're sick of being paid all this money to be famous and beloved," but you think about this, yeah, how quickly they were making them, how long it takes to make them. They mentioned, and I know it's very true on a movie like this, the publicity tour, which is like a giant global thing for movies of this
yeah.
size. I get that he would just be burnt out at this point.
And like these are hard movies to shoot.
Mhm.
Again, these are action movies. He's not doing five My Dinner with Andres. You know what I mean?
Oh
He's
yeah,
doing these are huge undertakings that are very physically and mentally draining. Um, and on top of that, he's probably an asshole. So all those things
sure,
combined
sure, yes.
are that yeah, if 5 movies is a good time to sign off. He would be lured back by the siren's call of a
Mo money.
pickup truck full of money. Yeah,
Yeah.
being dumped on his front porch. And but yeah, next time we're going to talk about a really great Bond film that feels like it's doesn't belong anywhere. Like it feels like its own like thing, its own pocket
Yeah.
dimension
I don't
anyway.
want to go too in the
Uh,
weeds since we'll say it next week, but yeah, the fact that this movie is the only one-time Bond and telling the story it's telling does make it very unique. Yeah,
We are at a point now in history, even when we were growing up, like Roger Moore was retiring. That was a big deal. Who is the new Bond? And then we get a new Bond. And then we got now we're looking for a new Bond with the Denis Villeneuve movie. This is old hat now. It's just something fun that's like, oh, we get a new Bond. Yay. Like, who is it going to be? The anticipation, the speculation. That had not been done before until this next movie, where the search is on for the new James Bond, and we'll get the series only one and done Bond with George Lazenby. So we will do On Her Majesty's Secret Service next time. Eric, do you have anything to add about You Only Live Twice?
No, I mean, I guess I'll just throw out. Yeah, I mean, just saying. Yeah, Kissy it's all weird. The speed run of Kissy. Even though I do like that she's like, no, we're not going to share the bed, and he seems so put out. It is funny that she almost immediately is like, then it's like, oh, you know what? I'm going to kiss you anyway. Hey, my name is Kissy. But I'll just say the fact that there was room there for Bond maybe to have a little different, thing with a woman of like, oh, she's really resisting my charms, and I'm not going to be creepy rapey like I was in the last movie. And maybe I need to show a different side of myself. Now, this movie's not going to do that. They're just going to have her say, you know what? Let's kiss anyway. But I do think it's almost an interesting thing where we're going to go into the next movie as far as Bond as a character.
Maybe it's the longer cut. Yeah, no, exactly. And again, this movie's plot, and it used the characters, like some of the characters from the book, the setting of the book, the secret base, Blofeld, etc. But most of it was changed from the book, unlike the other movies, which did have differences, but mostly were following the book. The fact that this was supposed to follow the next movie, and everyone will understand more after we watch the next movie and what we're talking about.
Yeah, if you have
the kissy stuff, the kissy stuff is feels bizarre because it feels rushed. And also, maybe we'll leave on this note that when Domino becomes the Bond girl, like, in Thunderball, after like Fiona, he sleeps with Fiona, he sleeps with other people. They needed to have that sex scene in there. Remember when they had sex underwater? Because at the end they were just going to get skyhooked out of there.
Right.
Here, he doesn't sleep with Kissy in this movie. It's just implied afterward. This is the first time he doesn't. Maybe Honey. He doesn't have sex with Honey at that point.
Yeah, because he gets cock blocked by the submarine, and it's not like he can escape the submarine. So we just end with that.
So this is the first time since Dr. No he doesn't sleep with a Bond girl. So anyway, notable. Until next time, everything is possible, but nothing is real. And Shakma.
Shakma.
Live twice, or so it seems. One life for yourself and one for your dream. You drift through the years, and life seems tame.